week in the garage. Ewan's old lady almost pops her clogs.
It's running okay.
Wayne discovers there's life in his old girl yet.
Look at that, life. Well.
And Jock's coming of age goes with a bang.
Oh, for fuck's sake, sit down, will you?
It's early morning on the Costa del Sol, and storm clouds are gathering over English Mobile Mechanics, a garage in Marbella run by Jock Campbell.
Monday's hectic here, absolutely hectic. It's finger out time. I've already told the apprentice I don't want people walking about here with cups of tea.
I just want to make a cup of tea, and I can't. He won't even let me do that.
Maybe I'll open a calf. Yeah, maybe I'll open a calf.
Jock looks after loads of cars for his loyal customers, from funky Ferraris...
Look how fat that is!
...to this cool Camaro, to one very sorry-looking Ford Anglia.
Nothing a bit of teacup won't solve, you know what I mean?
The Anglia is a restoration project, but Jock's beginning to regret letting it in.
It's actually nicking the space on another car. Can't get anything in it. I mean, I need the space now.
Jock's had a management baptism of fire with his new staff. First, Sandy got drunk and failed to turn up.
I'm not going to steam into you. I'm only telling you, you want this job because I really didn't want it to happen again, honestly.
Oh, no.
Then receptionist Claire had a crisis.
I didn't realise that Spanish mobiles had to have 9 numbers.
I'm not happy bunny at all.
Steph turned up hungover.
Wish I didn't drink. Why on earth you all let me drink? I'll never know, I'll never know.
And Jock and trainee Danielle are constantly at loggerheads.
I've not seen you doing anything in here productive. Nothing at all. Get on it. That's it, that's it, that's it.
Jock found the jump from 2 to 7 staff a struggle.
I'm just not happy with all the people that's walking around with like flies on the shit. Everybody's scratching about for a job. The managing side of the garage is actually harder, I think, than because you've got to organise everybody.
Still, there's no time for complaining. A tow truck has turned up and the car on the back seems strangely familiar. It's Foreman Ewan's very own Beamer. In a freak malfunction, it inexplicably lost all power whilst he was hurtling down the fast lane at 90 miles an hour. It's a mystery.
I was just driving it back from Gibraltar and just lost power. That was it. That was me stuck with a wife and 3 kids outside the road.
Although Jock's busy and desperate for space in the garage, he can't turn away his own mechanic's car.
That's the perks of the job. Anything like that, as long as not rebuilding cars.
The car is vital for Ewan as he lives 30 miles away. No car means no work. And despite paying only 100 quid for the Beamer, he is quite attached to it.
It's a good car. It's a cheap car.
But Jock has a business to run, which is why there's no room for sentiment when it comes to motors.
I mean, he'll run through what actually happened with Steph, and between the two of them, want the diagnosis on the car, see how much it's going to cost. Because if it's not cost-effective, like, that thing's gone to scrapyard as far as I'm concerned.
Just a few minutes later, another car rolls into the garage, and yet again, it looks familiar to Jock. It's got an ABS problem.
We done that car about 3 or 4 months ago. New set of wheels. The guy supplied the wheels, but he said after, I think it was more than a week after he went out of the garage, the ABS lights started to come on.
ABS, or anti-lock braking system, was developed by Mercedes and designed to help drivers stay in control of their cars during braking and avoid skids. Skids are dangerous because traction between tyres and tarmac has been lost, so the car simply slides over the surface and the driver has no directional control. Releasing the brakes briefly allows the wheel to start turning so that the tyre can re-grip the tarmac. ABS does this at a superhuman level, releasing and then reapplying the brakes up to 15 times a second, as seen here in the dark Mercedes. This keeps the drivers in control, no matter how hard they slam on the anchors. The high-tech diagnostics machine hasn't shed light on the problem, so the lads take her out for a spin to see how she handles. and they're about to make a shocking discovery. Coming up on The Garage, the mechanics are astonished to discover what Ewan's done to his car.
Ewan.
Jock's thoughtful diagnosis on the VW with the ABS problem.
Fucked.
And despite her best efforts, Danny discovers that no one is listening.
Danielle is my name.
Coming up in The Garage, Jock comes across a bent set of wheels.
That's some hole he's went down. Fucked.
Even hardened mechanics are shocked by what Ewan has to show them.
Oh, look at that, man.
And Wayne has a hidden secret that he doesn't want his mum to know.
This is on camera, my mum's watching.
Business is proving tough for Jock, the boss at English Mobile Mechanics.
Just listen, guys, and you just stop what you're doing and take it through next door. Yeah. This is not the kitchen, eh?
As if running a small business wasn't stressful enough, he's also had to deal with the highs and lows of managing his new staff.
We didn't stop here for dinner. Ever.
In particular, Jock and trainee Danielle couldn't see eye to eye.
I don't know which side of whose bed he got out of this morning. It certainly wasn't a good one. Just take a chill pill, man.
And now Jock's own foreman's car has inexplicably broken down.
I was just driving it back and just I lost power. And that was it. That was me stuck with a wife and 3 kids at the side of the road. If I get up and running again, that's my wife happy. So she's without any transport just now.
It's a problem for you, and Jock's not exactly happy either.
It's actually nicking the space on another car. That's just nightmares.
But the mystery of what has gone wrong with his car is just that, a mystery.
Right. I have absolutely no idea. You haven't put diesel in it, have you?
Fuck. I never filled it up. I've already filled it up.
Yeah, it's the nut.
It says off fucking
I know, it's knocking its nuts off, isn't it?
The technical term, knocking its nuts off, roughly translates in mechanic speak as bad news. So the ubiquitous diagnostic machine comes out.
201, oxygen sensor control.
With his recent relocation to Spain, money's tight for Ewan, and the sensor would be the cheapest diagnosis. But Jock's not convinced it's right.
Have you had a look at the engine? Does the engine not start?
It doesn't run.
Is the engine turning over?
Yeah, it turns over, yeah.
Why don't we just compression test it then? I've got a compression tester there.
Inside each cylinder of an engine, fuel and air ignite to cause an explosion, which pushes the piston down, ultimately driving the wheels. The action of the piston rising compresses the fuel mixture to make the explosion more powerful. By replacing a spark plug with a pressure gauge, Jock can measure whether enough compression is occurring in each cylinder for the engine to work properly. Anything that allows a leak, such as a broken gasket, will let the fuel mix escape rather than be compressed. The fuel will not explode properly, and the car will lose power. Although Jock thinks this engine was already underpowered.
Yeah, he had it loaded up with shopping, 10 ton of fags, 3 kids, and his missus, and him. You see the size of Ewan? Look at the size of the car. I mean, it's only a 4-cylinder, isn't it? It's at the end of the day, so...
I'll stick the compression tester and I'll come and give you a shot.
See what the compressions is, and write it. We'll have a quick look in the book, see what it is, and we'll go for there, I think.
But when Steph takes out the spark plug, he's stopped in his tracks by the damage he sees. The ground electrode is as bent as a £9 note. Clearly something has already gone horribly wrong inside one of the cylinders.
It's actually bent the electrode.
That means it's not the oxygen sensor, proving you can't always rely on diagnostics.
You've actually got to know what you're doing with the diagnostic stuff. And it will near enough tell you to 90% of what's wrong with that car. The other 10% is really back to mechanics, because if you could get them 100%, you just wouldn't have any mechanics. You'd have women and, cooks and fishmongers sorting your car.
And with an attitude like that, it's no wonder Danielle is finding it tough.
Boss doesn't care. Neither any of the technicians at all. Not one of them. Not one of them's taken me seriously because I'm a bird.
All she wants to do is learn.
Why am I not on a course? I should be on a one-day course during the week. So they sent me to good old Spanish school and I get to learn all about mechanics like how normal apprentices do. And therefore I might actually understand a bit more.
But all she gets to do is clear up.
Get some white paper, man. Right?
Yeah.
Clean that up for us.
Why are you asking me?
You're the apprentice, sir.
For now, she's putting a brave face on and doing exactly as she's told.
I'm a tough cookie to break. But if he carries on like this, I will get a bit annoyed.
Back at Ewan's Beamer, Jock's taking bets on what might have caused the damage to the spark plug.
Right, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to take a lucky stab.
Cam belt?
I would have to say that the camshaft is snapped.
Cam shaft?
Ewan. Quick diagnosis. What would you say has caused that?
It could be a broken ring, something like that, or a piston. You know, obviously, there's some.
But whatever it is, it's expensive. Everyone has their own theory about how the damage could have happened. Ewan thinks that a metal piston ring, which provides an airtight seal with the cylinder wall, is damaged and debris has hit the spark plug. Jock thinks the camshaft, which opens and closes the valves to let fuel in and exhaust gas out, may have broken. And Steph thinks that the timing belt, which coordinates the precise timing of when the camshaft opens and closes the valves, may have snapped. All these theories rest on the idea that any metal debris in the cylinder would be smashed into the spark plug by the piston, causing untold damage.
Something's come up and smashed that. I'm going to go with the broken camshaft. Take off that rocker cover, Steph.
Yep.
Jock's first line of inquiry as detective is to assess the state of the camshaft.
Yeah, just flick that engine a minute.
To Jock's surprise, it's intact. Mystery deepens.
Everything's moving. Everything seems to be working. There's nothing wrong with the camshaft, so I think the next thing now would take the sump off. Yeah, sump off, mate.
If the culprit is a broken piston ring, they'll find metal debris in the sump, and that will solve the mystery, signalling an end to their investigation.
Then this engine is scrap. It's just waste of time.
But when filthy oil starts to ooze out, any sympathy Jock had for Ewan's plight drains away with it.
That oil's minging. You ever change your oil on this thing? Look at the colour of the oil.
I changed that before I come away for...
Aberdeen. That was about 6 months ago.
Well, 7 months ago.
3,000 mile run.
Even a good mechanic like Ewan doesn't always practice what he preaches. Half an hour later, the sump is finally off. But will it provide the proof they're looking for?
And I've lost my other glasses, man. These glasses are like binoculars.
But even with his milk bottle glasses on, there's no evidence of any broken metal in the sump. Then he looks at the conrod and sees it's still in one piece.
It seems perfect.
Having eliminated all the other possibilities, engine sleuth Jock now knows what's happened.
The end of the valve's broken off, I'd say. Like, definitely, 100%. We need the cylinder head off the car.
Jock's convinced of the cause of the problem. But the million-dollar question is, has the broken valve wrecked the engine, or is it salvageable? When Steph and Wayne head out for a drink, they inevitably end up in their favourite den of iniquity, the lap dancing club. Unfortunately, it's not a cheap night out.
Do you know what? I just blew my money, my wages last night. Just No, I don't try to give you €50, but you keep it.
I want it back. I thought it was 10.
No, it was 50.
Jock is unimpressed with Wayne's antics.
Oh, fuck off, man. I was flexing last night. The ladies were loving it. Hey?
Yeah, they were loving it. They were loving the dough.
I even gave the bird €30 and didn't have a dance. How kind was I?
But it turns out that blowing his wages may not have been the only stupid thing Wayne has done. There's a rumour that he drunkenly shaved his own chest.
My chest has got nothing to do with this, man. I'm not showing you my chest. No, I don't. Please, come on, man. This is on camera. My mum's watching. Let me have a look. Just a little look. I was slaughtered, all right? I didn't know what I was doing.
But under the glare of Jock's watchful eye, Danny decides to get back to work. Or at least she tries to.
Don't know what we're doing. Sandy, what are we doing now? What are we doing?
Try and improvise.
Improvise?
Danny came to the garage with a lot of enthusiasm.
Oh, I want to be a full-on mechanic.
But she didn't have much mechanical know-how.
I've got basic knowledge, but mainly about body kits and sound systems.
and she got off to a faltering start.
I need you to ask her what she's doing while she's sitting on a stool, sunbathing, in the front of my garage while she should be working, and find out what she's writing doing, because there's a time for doing letters.
But recently she's been trying really hard to learn.
Is there anything to do?
I think it go in a hand or something.
Flynn?
Unfortunately, in the male-dominated environment of the garage, she struggles to be taken seriously.
What's the difference between a cam belt and a fan belt from that one?
Danny, get up with him, will you? Do me fucking eating, man.
Sandy,
What?
explain to me what you've done. She's taken off the axle.
But in the absence of tuition and unwilling to be accused of slacking, she's put her back into cleaning, even more cleaning, and making the tea. But even that isn't appreciated.
Who's not thanks for the tea, you two?
I said thank you when he gives it. Yes.
You must be deaf.
I will say thank you when you do something for us, Danielle.
Danielle is my name.
All I do is sweep the floor. God, I'm never going to learn that way. I don't mind sweeping the floor, like, maybe 3 times a day, but not flipping all day.
In the next-door garage, Wayne's come back from test driving the VW with the ABS problem, and he's found something he thinks Jock should see.
Right there, isn't it?
Every wheel on the VW bar 1 is horribly buckled.
But if you actually watch the wheel when I spin it, that's it. Goes up and down.
As Wayne explains, there's a price to pay for fashionable wheels.
The roads in this country are diabolical. They've got potholes everywhere. The thing is, when you've got wide wheels, yeah, the offset, yeah, so this is going to be a weak part of the wheel, yeah, because it's coming right out. So if you hit it, it's like any alloy wheel. If you've got thin wheels, it's hard to buckle them because the strength's always in one line. But because it overhangs this way, the weakest part of the wheel is going to be here. It's not going to be here, it's going to be here, because it's got no spokes to strengthen it. So this one's the same, yeah, all the same, and I'll just check that one. And if they're all the same, you can't get a buckle out of an alloy wheel. That one's all right. That one's fine. That's how they all should be.
Using alloys to increase the size of your wheels whilst reducing the profile of your tyres is a popular modification. Low-profile tyres can improve the handling of a car as the rubber deforms much less on cornering, meaning you can feel the road well. But normal wheels absorb bumps better and are more comfortable to drive. Not only that, but large alloys with thin tyres are much easier to damage. And of course, you run the risk of your mum saying your trendy wheels look like they belong on a pram. Jock is impressed with the extent of the damage.
Okay, no, that's some hole he's went down.
But a buckled alloy wheel is an X-wheel, as Jock explains in graphic detail.
Yeah. Fucked.
Despite the fact that these wheels were fitted new just a month ago, they're only fit for the scrap heap now. But at least finally it's a chance for Danny to learn something, as Wayne takes her under his wing.
Wayne's kindly offered to solely teach me. You know, that's just a thing, you know, between me and him, because obviously nobody else is taking on any roles. So, yeah, Wayne's just gone, oh, come here, I'll teach you, and that's great.
You've got the strength from here to here. This is the strength. Inside of the wheel, it has no strength.
But a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Now Danny's worried about her own alloys.
You just made me think if I'd done that to mine.
As for the V-dub, all Wayne can do is tell the owner he needs new wheels and warn him of the pitfalls for next time.
In England, everyone puts big wheels on their motor, but you've got to face the consequences. You have a different ride, different handling. Everyone thinks bigger wheels are better. You know, you can't drive them like you would, say, a 13-inch wheel. These, as soon as you hit them, it's like hitting a rock. Do you know what I mean? And it will give. The wheels will give because they're so weak. Big is not always better.
Back at the Beamer, the mechanics suspect a broken valve, but they won't know for sure until they get the cylinder head off. And it's proving as stubborn as Jock, whose patience is wearing thin.
Got a socket on it, mate. You've been there all day with that fucking spanner. I mean, I'm not being funny. I mean, this is a proper customer's car, like we'd be on this all day. Oh, yeah. And you should have been watching what you were at. No, but this car's taken up Hunter's car. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not being funny, man. He knows that.
Ewan can't afford to buy a new car and is desperate to salvage this one, if only to save it from the scrapyard fate that Jock taunts it with.
I ain't going to scrapper. I ain't going to scrapper. You are. It's not coming, is it?
If it doesn't come off soon, Jock's going to take a violent shortcut.
Give me that hammer.
There.
There's more connectors. Go on.
That's it.
It's okay.
Finally, they get the cylinder head off and the extent of the damage becomes apparent.
Oh, look at that valve.
One of the valves has sheared off completely, gouging the piston. Ewan's filthy oil may have been the last straw.
Can you actually see the gouge it's made in there? It's a proper gouge, that is. There you go. You can see it with the coin there, look. Can you see the difference? Yeah.
There are two valves in each cylinder of Ewan's BMW. The inlet valve opens to let the fuel mixture in and then closes. After the fuel has been ignited, the exhaust valve opens and the rising piston pushes the exhaust gases out. One of the valves in Ewan's car snapped right off and fell into the cylinder. When the piston rose up, it smashed the broken valve into the cylinder head, denting the spark plug and gouging the piston. The engine's beyond repair.
That's fucked.
The cheapest way forward for Ewan is not to repair it, but to replace it.
If you were going to do it properly, you'd have to buy a new head, new valves, and then you're going to have to buy a new piston. But to be honest, you'd probably do better to get it cheaper and get a second-hand lump from a scrapyard or something.
But the mechanic's curiosity gets the better of them. Ewan wants to look the broken valve of doom in the face.
Oh, look at that, man.
And when he does, he's quite impressed.
Scheiße! Look at the big crack.
It looks like those VW alloys aren't the only things on their way to the scrap heap. Still to come on The Garage. Wayne's old girl stops hiding her light under a bushel.
The lights are on.
The mechanics head for the hills in search of an engine for Ewan.
It's amazing. Yeah, I'm like a little kid in a toy shop, really. So.
And Danny discovers that respect isn't given, it's earned.
Yeah, I know. He has to earn our respect.
Yeah, not wrong way around. Here's the boss.
Hits the skids.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The mechanics get in it up to their necks.
Get in there, Steph.
See what it is.
And Jock uncovers a massive flaw in Ewan's engine transplant plans.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yesterday, Ewan discovered that his broken-down car had a terminal illness.
Oh, look at that valve.
The engine was beyond repair, and Jock wasn't happy with it taking up space.
This car's taking up a punter's car. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not being funny, man. He knows that.
But in Jock's opinion, the car wasn't the only waste of space in the garage.
I mean, I'm not going to have a waste of my time. And she's certainly not going to waste other guys' times.
But trainee Danielle refuses to be bowed by his constant criticism, even if she does get all the rubbish jobs.
I'm looking for a set of teeth for Jock. Because I think that's why he doesn't smile anymore.
Today it's back to business. And first car of the day is a Dodge Dakota, an enormous top-of-the-range four-wheel drive pickup.
Jarvis, is it?
Yes.
This isn't just a customer, it's a good friend of Jock's, who's after a full service for his favourite off-roading toy.
A rattle one with a cage underneath. I've done a bit of off-roading in it.
Yeah.
So basically just needs a...
Surprisingly, it's developed a very ominous rattle.
Things like that, and the headlight.
Dodges are renowned for their robustness, and being a relatively new model, it's odd that on his first trip off-roading, something appears to have gone badly wrong with it.
Go over it for me today, I might be able to bring the parts back.
Next door, Danny is desperate for work.
Do you want me to do anything
That isn't cleaning.
within the garage? Do you want me to clean the floor with a toothbrush? I'm only joking, Jesus.
Look like.
A disheartened Danny tries to find out where she's been going wrong.
Yeah, but let's say on another day that there might not be too much for me to do, yeah, except maybe hand some tools to people or hold something up. Am I just going to leave it blank for the rest of the day?
There's an old angler next door waiting. They tell you what's going on with that thing and stuff like that, you know. There's always stuff you can learn, and we can always tell you stuff to do as long as you're keen enough to do it, you know.
Yeah, if people are willing to stop and explain.
Aye, but if there's no to do, we will be able to explain. Because we'll not be doing no either.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fair enough.
But everything you do, right, you're doing as you do it.
I mean, he says, like, you know, write it in technical terms, but no one's explaining in technical terms.
Aye, but this is basically as it happens. This is what you're doing, step by step, what you're actually doing the day. There's always stuff to do, Daniel. You're up, man. You do that every day, right? And you'll gain his respect.
Yeah, I know. He has to earn our respect.
Yeah, no, wrong way around. Here's the boss. Life's hard. You'll learn the hard way.
It's a harsh lesson. But Danny won't be bowed by garage politics. And she knows there is one person who will answer her car questions, especially if they concern his beloved Anglia. Because it's such an old banger, spare parts are taking forever to arrive. But at last, a battery turns up, which will tell them if there's a breath of hope for the old girl.
I've got confidence in the old boy, do you know what I mean? He knows what he's doing. He's had a look at the engine. He says it's not seized, it's not solid, but can't do nothing, like we say, without an oil filter. No oil filter, no oil, no engine, effectively. So I think it's checking if it turns over or no.
Underneath that faded grandeur, there's still a weak pulse. Incredibly, after years of exposure to the elements, the electrics are still working.
The lights are on.
The good thing about an old car is that it's easy to see what's going on under the bonnet, which means that an eager Danny can finally learn some mechanics.
What's that?
I think that's the washer pump.
What happens from that switch
Right.
to the engine bay? And how fast does that all have to work?
Quite fast.
Literally, when you turn it on, it goes and it's on.
Yes.
Wayne is floored by Danny's enthusiasm.
What does CC stand for?
Quite literally. But all good things, including Danny's lessons, must come to an end.
For today. That's a wrap. That's this thing.
Next morning, the mechanics leave the garage and hit the road in search of an engine. They've discovered that Foreman Ewan's BMW died because a valve smashed the cylinder head to pieces, leaving the engine only fit for the skip.
That's fucked.
Despite Ewan's shocking maintenance, he lives 30 miles from work and has 3 kids to get to school every day. He depends on the car. But the engine was beyond repair, so they've come to the scrap heap to find a replacement. But there are acres of land and thousands of knackered cars. It's going to be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Many cars here are in good nick and may have been scrapped simply for paperwork problems.
Austin 1300S.
But buying from a scrap heap is still a gamble.
Just take a look. Just
massive,
take a
isn't
little
it?
look up there. Yeah, it's amazing. It's not like scrapyards back home, is it? Yeah, I'm like a little kid in a toy shop, really. So, yeah, cool. There's a bonnet to it.
Eventually, they spot a Beamer. It's not exactly the same as Ewan's, but it's close. The scrap heap owner calls it 200 quid if they remove the engine themselves. But of course that doesn't include the hidden cost to Jock. Jock charges around £30 an hour labour. So with 3 of his workforce out of commission, that's almost £100 an hour slipping through his fingers.
Just be as quick as you can. I'd take off the bonnet and bosh it and lift it up with a whatever.
Yeah, it looks all right. Should be all right. Just getting it out is going to be the hard thing.
They can't get their van anywhere near the donor car, so they have to carry all their tools across the scrap heap in the blazing noonday sun. And of course, with a second-hand car, you never know exactly what you're getting.
Something like this is just a gamble, isn't it, really? I mean, it looks okay. Like, on appearance, it looks fine, but... I mean, obviously, Jock's happy with it, but until it's up and running, nobody knows, really.
With the sun beating down and no place to take cover, speed is of the essence. And the quickest way to extract an engine is brute force and ignorance.
Steering shaft seized on to the rack, going up the top at the bulkhead, so seized on, cut it off.
But even then, it's not a quick job. And Jock appreciates how hard his mechanics are working under the burning sun.
It's really hard on a scrapyard to believe. Honestly, fair play to the guys. It's really hard work. I mean that, and we're in the belting sun. I don't know what temperature is at the moment, but it must be high 30s anyway.
Back at the garage, Wayne has a bit of a mystery to solve with that Dodge.
You've got a rattle ever since it's been off-roading.
Funny that.
He can't quite understand what could have gone wrong in a machine as robust as this, and one designed with off-road action in mind.
Rattle.
And despite searching in every nook and cranny, looking for what has come loose with his torch, he fails to throw any light on the situation. But now that she has a willing tutor, Danny is fast picking up the garage ropes, and she's able to start servicing the Dodge, while he carries on looking for that elusive rattle.
Get an air gun from next door.
Any time?
Big one. Yeah. And I'll get the socket ready for you. And just gun all the wheel nuts off and swap them front to rear.
Yep.
Slowly but surely, Danny is beginning to get more confident about tackling the jobs that need to be done. And she's learning as she goes. But the air gun alone won't do the trick. In order to get the wheels off, they'll need to use the all-important locking wheel nut, which is used to ensure that your nice expensive alloys don't go walkabout, leaving your car high and dry on a pile of bricks.
Right, locking wheel nuts. If you look at the wheel nut, it's cut in a shape. So that locks in there, and then you've got a nut on the end of the key. Yeah. Never gun them up with an air gun. Should always torque them. Yeah.
Because a locking wheel nut is made of a soft alloy and has a more rounded profile than a normal nut, over-tightening could round it off, making it impossible to undo, leaving you with a wheel headache. That's why Wayne uses a torque wrench. It allows you to tighten the bolts up to the exact specification of the manufacturer. But of course, Wayne's is no ordinary torque wrench.
Vibrating torque wrench. We're doing 90, yeah? You put it on there, and it vibrates.
It's made for
It's in the head. It makes a noise, but it vibrates as well. So, really nice. So if Jock asks me what I'm doing, I'm talking up wheels.
But Wayne's nuts are the least of Jock's worries at the moment. 3 hours on, he's still out at the scrap heap, and they've still not removed the engine, although finally they're almost ready to lift it out.
Everything's disconnected from the engine. Now, I say disconnected, either torn off or sawn off. How you doing, Glenn? Yeah. The box is disconnected. Engine's ready to come up. Box can be split off the back of it, and we'll have an engine, hopefully. She's ready to come out then, basically. Yeah.
Suddenly, Jock is seized by a thought. He forgot something important.
We wanna watch.
Numero uno of scrapped car engines. Make sure it's not seized solid before you take it out. It's bad enough that Jock's losing money hand over fist already. But if they'd bought and paid for a seized engine, that would have been the ultimate insult.
If that didn't turn, we'd have a problem.
And that wasn't the only thing that they forgot.
This morning, I've told them to load the van up, and there's been a few things forgotten. And one of them was the engine straps. So what we're going to do is, we're going to use, you know, a bit of initiative. We're going to cut the seat belts so that we've got 3 or 4 of them, and them belts are strong anyway, and just lifted out. And see, these are strong. These will do the job.
The engine weighs a whopping 250 kilos, which is the same as 10 sacks of potatoes. Luckily, EU law requires car seatbelts to withstand a force 3 times that amount, so they should be okay with their bodged-up straps. Over 3 hours after they started, the gang finally lift the engine out. Hanging there on the end of that hoist is Ewan's livelihood. They'd better hope it's a runner.
Get in there, Steph.
But it's not over yet. They still have the gearbox to extract, and every minute they're here working on Ewan's car, it's money down the drain for Jock's garage.
Steph likes to get right into the engine. Good man.
Go on. Go on.
Right.
One gearbox.
One gearbox.
And of course, there's the small matter of remembering which of the hundreds of battered vans in the scrap heap is theirs.
Where's the van?
For fuck's sake. Do you know where you... Hang on.
But luckily, they spot it.
Right.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think you should get the engine on.
Yeah, definitely need the engine on.
Took a bit longer because they forgot half the tools. I think they got excited. Let's get out of this garage for a while. They never want to come out it again in a hurry. I didn't think so, no. You're stinking, man. I think you better put a bit of cardboard in. Transmission fluid?
Yep. Hi-ho!
And off to work, Steph goes.
Hi-ho!
Meanwhile, Snow White and Dopey are busy changing the oil on the Dodge.
What socket do you need?
Wayne still had no luck tracking down the cause of the rattle which the Dodge developed after off-roading, though it's difficult to access some of the underside as it has massive protective skids bolted to it.
You've got the diff there, that protects it, so it'll hit that and slide off it. So if you're off-road and you hit a rock, just slide, yeah?
While admiring the robustness of the pickup, he stumbles across the reason for the rattle it developed.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So what's that there?
That's a stone. You went off-roading, obviously the stone's flipped up there. Driving down the road, it's going like that. So, this is rattle.
Meanwhile, Ewan's scrap heap saviours have returned triumphant to the garage with their spoils.
Let's see your back, Steph.
And finally, Steph and Glyn take a well-deserved rest on the garage steps. Ewan and Sandy, Jock's very own beasts of burden, make light work of the 250-kilo engine.
Look, watch this, watch this. Look. Who needs an engine horse when you've got these two, though?
But suddenly, they realise there's a serious problem. The engines look completely different shapes.
This has come out an E30, this 318i, it's bigger engine, 1800, so.
The car in the scrapyard was a 15-year-old BMW 3 Series 1.8. Ewan's is a 12-year-old 3 Series 1.6. Jock knew the 1.8 and the 1.6 were normally interchangeable, but forgot that 13 years ago, BMW changed the shape of the car from the older style E30 chassis to Ewan's newer E36 chassis. Not only is the newer engine bigger, it's designed to fit in a totally different shaped hole. If they can't fit it in, it could be an expensive disaster, and Ewan might be back at square one.
That's tiny, mate. That looks a lot smaller than the one that's on the other engine.
Yeah.
Aye. Over beside the other one, really. Just to see, compare them.
That's not a 16 valve. No.
It's different, eh?
This is an M43. The one in his is an M43 TU.
Oh, I don't know about the TUs, but it's...
Technically updated.
Oh, technically updated. Well done, son.
Incredibly, the engine mountings aren't that different, but the new sump is a totally different shape from the old one and won't fit in.
Oh, fuck's sake.
There's one small hope and one hope only. They're going to see if they can replace the sump on the new engine with the sump from the old one. But if it doesn't fit, Ewan's stuffed.
Oh, it's a completely different shape, whether or not the actual bottom of the block is the same as the bottom of that block. And that's the old sump will fit on here. We've yet to see.
Incredibly, the old sump fits the new engine and they're able to fit it into the engine space after all.
Right, doing... Right, slowly, man, slowly.
It might sound surprising, but in fact many engine parts can be swapped between models, as it saves on manufacturing costs, which is a big stroke of luck for Ewan.
Right.
But the moment of truth, finding out if it actually works, still awaits. Coming up on The Garage, are Ewan's dreams of trouble-free motoring going up in smoke? And will Jock's 50th birthday turn into a midlife crisis for him, or a crisis of confidence for Danny?
I'm scared.
Find out after the break. If I... 2 days ago, Foreman Ewan's car came in on a tow truck.
Brakes, have brakes.
The engine was terminally ill with a bad case of broken valve.
Oh, look at that valve.
A replacement engine from the scrap heap was the only feasible option. But only now they've connected it up in Ewan's car will they find out if it actually runs.
Right.
It's the moment of truth for Foreman Ewan and the rest of the mechanics at the garage. Everyone is very apprehensive. It seems like a success, but everyone is cautious.
Running all right, isn't it? Yeah, what more can you say, really?
Although it looks like Ewan's Banger will live to die again another day, the proof of the pudding will be in the test drive. In the meantime, the Dodge owner arrives to discover that his nasty little rattle was simply a rock stuck in his skids.
That was my bit of off-roading down at one of the beaches in my 4x4.
Why not? That's what they meant for. I just banged the tray as I was going along, and I heard this rattle, and I looked up and I saw this massive stone there.
Lucky stone.
It's nearly the end of a long week, but there's one last piece of unfinished business, and so, as Ewan returns from his test drive, everyone holds their breath in anticipation. Just as well, because that car is smoking more than Ewan normally does. Jockey's worried that the head gasket of the new engine might be blown, which would mean loads more work for the gang. It's not the news Ewan wanted to hear.
I can smell water, mate.
Aye, but I'm hoping it's just...
I can smell head gasket. He's put the new engine in. He said it's running okay, but he's been round the block. I'd be sniffing it anyway to see, see if there's any head gasket problems anyway. It's a second-hand engine, nobody's tested it yet, so...
In order to check, they're going to carry out what's known as a sniff test. Any break in the engine seals causes hydrocarbons from the fuel to be released into the cooling system. The blue chemical inside this apparatus turns yellow if there's any evidence of hydrocarbons, but it stays resolutely blue, much to Ewan's relief. Luckily, that means there's a straightforward reason for the smoke. When Ewan's old engine broke, the snap valve pierced the water galleries in the cylinder head, which helped cool the engine. Water leaked into the cylinder, turned to steam, and then condensed inside the exhaust system. When Ewan fitted the new engine and the water in the exhaust heated up, steam billowed out. But it won't do any harm, it will simply boil off. Ewan's unperturbed.
Running okay. That's a lot, isn't it, all right?
It's Friday afternoon, and he isn't going to let some steam keep him at work a minute longer. Thanks to Jock and English Mobile Mechanics, he bunks off early to return the newly working car to its rightful owner, his wife. The rest of the crew are left to shut up shop, but there's a tinge of excitement in the air. Tomorrow is Jock's 50th birthday celebration, and it's going to be a fiery affair. Saturday morning, and the gang have ventured into the mountains to Jock's shooting range to celebrate his birthday.
It's so quiet, it's absolutely stunning.
This nice mountain air will clear out the system. Nice shotgun show, blow away the cobweb. That's what I mean.
As they make their way to the range, everyone gets quite excited.
Get the dog.
Let's go then.
Oh, be up, boy!
First up is Wayne, who gets some one-to-one tuition from Jock.
Yeah. Follow it up and bang. On it, Bill. Bill.
His first few attempts fly wide of the mark, but then...
Thanks, you were away to turn there, boy.
Next it's Sandy.
Yeah. Bill.
And then it's Steph's turn.
Yeah, well done.
Everyone hits at least one clay, until it's Ewan's turn. Maybe all that smoke yesterday got in his eyes, but Jock is as forgiving as ever.
Oh, for fuck's sake, sit down, will you? Goodbye. Thanks. Anyone else?
Finally, it's a nervous Danielle's turn. But away from the stress of the workplace, Jock shows his softer side.
I'm scared.
Are you scared? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right, shut the gun. Oh, you're all right.
Yeah.
You remember what I said to you? As soon as the clay comes out, bang, and the gun's still moving. You got me? All right? Bill.
Oh, God, that is hard.
Keep your finger off the trigger.
Yeah.
That's it.
And with a bit of tuition, Danny obliterates the clay.
Hold on.
And there's just enough time for Jock to show his audience what a pro can do. All that remains is to toast their shooting success and Jock's 50th birthday with a glass of champagne.
Cheers, people. Thanks very much for coming.
Happy birthday.
Coming up next week on The Garage, Jock and the gang are rushed off their feet.
Is your car ready? We've not even started it
A
yet.
4x4 that needs an all-new transmission.
Oh, it's fucked in, isn't it?
And stress levels soar.
Cut my fucking arm off now, won't I?